He ain't an elite level fighter, in my opinion. One punch can change the course of a fight, but I've never ever seen in the heavyweight division of a fighter going to war with one weapon, which is what they say is his right hand. But when you get to top level, trust me, that don't last anymore. That don't work. So as we've seen now with certain fights of elite level fighters, he struggles at top level. And there's a lot more of us waiting for that opportunity as well to kick his ass. So yeah, he's going to struggle when he comes to fight people like myself and other heavyweights.
All right. Now that was an interview AJ did recently with Sky Sports Boxing. Now, ironically enough, Tyson Fury take on Deontay Wilder is completely opposite of AJ's. Let's see what Fury had to say.
I'll deal with all those guys later, because the most important thing to me is that Deontay Wilder is the most dangerous heavyweight in the world, and Deontay Wilder knocks out AJ in the first round. So other than I've got to get past Deontay Wilder and I'm focusing on him, then those guys will get their 5 minutes of fame, and I'll give them the best beatdown they've ever had in their whole life. Because, like I told Eddie Earn, the difference in me and all of these guys is they're businessmen and I'm a Spartan.
All right, now, Tyson Fury has been a guy that double talks and says one thing today, something else tomorrow. He has done that. I'll be the first person to say that. But what he said right there was a mouthful, and I'm going to have to roll with what he said, not because I'm a Deontay Wilder fan, not because I'm not an AJ fan, not because I'm a Tyson Fury fan, none of the above, none of the above. This is why. If you listen to the stuff AJ said in the past about Wilder, about Fury, and his career, what Fury said really that was key was he said these guys are businessmen. We're going to listen to an old clip AJ did back in, I think it was like November, something like that, of 2017. And listen to what he says very closely. Because he said, you know, we've been waiting to get a hold of Wilder, this, that, and the third, et cetera, et cetera. Well, throw Fury in that conversation as well. AJ has had opportunity to fight both men, and on several occasions, especially with Deontay Wilder. And he did not take those opportunities and run with them. Matter of fact, forget what I got to say. Let's listen to it, to what AJ had to say about it back in 2017.
Who would you pick next? Wilder at Wembley?
They want me to fight Mike Tyson, Wilder, Mike Tyson again, Wilder again, Tyson Fury, put him in under the knife, chop him up a bit, get him back to fighting weight, back to Wilder. But you know what, right? This little devil on my shoulder, the fighting man says Wilder at Wembley, boom. And then this devil on my shoulder, the manager hat, says, what's best to guide my career? So it's playing devil's advocate, putting them together and seeing what works out best for my career. Do you know what I mean?
But
So-
Wilder at Wembley?
It depends. I think if it's pushed that way, it has to happen. And I just think I'm going to do things my way, innit? If Wilder works, we're going to make it happen. If Wilder isn't the right opponent for next year, then we'll put it back on into 2019. But I'm just going to do things my way. People just can't rush my career. That's one thing I've learned, is that I've got a career, I need to map it out. I'm going to take fights at the right time for me. And yeah, if it's next year or the year after or the year after, when I fight him, I'll be in a position to beat him.
I find it funny when you say, even though you're world champion, people don't rush. I don't want people to rush my.
All right, now, ironically enough, if you listen to what he just said, he said, when I'm in position to beat them. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you can rewind it back and hear it yourself. He basically, okay, all right, now, I'll be honest. If he had issues with fighting Tyson Fury back in 2017, I get it. Fury had already showed who he was when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, so I get that. But back then, Deontay Wilder really was just, you know, starting to come on. He had the belt for 2 years. Deontay Wilder ain't no more talented today than he was back then. So if you felt like he's such a bum now, then you probably should have felt like he was a bum back then. Why would you have to wait to fight him at the right time, or make sure, you know, you're in a better position to beat him. That don't make sense. But let's continue to listen to what else he also had to say about the matter.
I started boxing 2008, Wilder turned pro 2009. So he's been a pro 1 year longer than my whole career. So you can see why they're rushing him for certain reasons, and you can see why I'm taking my time for certain reasons. So the fights are there, but as I said, I'm going to do it in my own time and when I feel ready.
Because the pace that you started at, it did seem like you kind of did it quite quickly. You've got to where you've got now quite quickly. So is that pace something that you're happy with? Are you starting to feel like you want to kind of slow it down now, enjoy it a little bit more?
I'm happy with the pace, definitely, because we wouldn't be here, you know what I mean, and we wouldn't be talking about these fights, but it's being realistic about where I'm at and understanding that this is a career as well, because who knows, do you know what I mean? I could take that fight next year and it might not have been the right time. I may have needed another 2 months. You know, as I said, the fire on my shoulder says, let's rock and roll. The coach on my shoulder says, you know what, Josh, you know, you need to just work on a few more things before you take a fight like that.
All right, now see what I'm saying? That don't make any sense. If Wilder been this bum, can't fight, only got one hand, etc., why didn't you take the fight back then? You could have been had the WBC belt, because you're talking about a one-armed man, a one-armed boxer. So, I mean, it just don't make sense. You heard him basically saying the fights were there. This was back in 2017, and he said fights, plural. So that would include Fury. Those fights been there. Now, if you want to say the Fury fight would be bigger now than it was then, okay. Okay. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but okay. Would you say the Wilder fight would be bigger now that both of y'all lost? No, probably not. Matter of fact, considering you lost, the fight with Fury, I would say, isn't quite as big as it would have been if you had two undefeated heavyweight champions going up against each other. And you fighting for belts that really Fury can also claim, because he was the one that held them and they were taken from him. So it's a lot that can be pointed at and say, well, you know, I can make a point with this, I can make a point with that. But like I said, AJ had plenty of opportunity to fight Wilder. So really what he's saying, in my opinion, is crap. But now I will say this, to be fair, because this true media, this ain't new media, this true media. The truth always been here. He does make a good point with Deontay Wilder with the one arm, one hand, one trick pony thing that he brought up. And Deontay Wilder, to a certain degree, remind me of a guy that fought a few years back, like a decade ago, in the lighter divisions. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Vic Tarchinian. Now this dude came out of the gates just knocking guys out. Beautiful, I think it was a straight left. Just killing people with it. But that's all he had. The guy sometimes wouldn't even throw a jab, just pow. I mean, when you're a lefty, you can do that sometimes. But just crushing people with that straight left. Till he fought Nonito Donaire. And all that changed. He got knocked out by him, and all of a sudden, like every other fight, 3 fights, whatever, Vic was getting beat up. I mean, he was a contender for a while, but he wasn't the same. He never adapted. He never got better. And this is a crossroads for Deontay Wilder. He's at that point where it could be that, or it could be nah. I'm going to learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to get better. What we've seen with these training videos will indicate, hopefully the latter, that he plans on getting better. It's never too late to get better. Especially considering he didn't take a ton of punishment throughout his career. He's a young 35 in my opinion, even though he has been in a couple wars over the last couple years. But he still, in my opinion, can get better. I think part of the problem was arrogance. I really believe, and Mark Breland actually said this. He said that, based off of the people he had around him, everybody told him how great he was, and he believed it. and he never got better. If matter of fact, for anything, I say he regressed. I think, and if you look at the Arthur Spilker fight, I thought he was more elusive. I mean, he was a little clumsy with it, but he had decent head movement. He would get out of the way of a punch, and move his head, use a little footwork. Now he's borderline a statue with his hands down, or at least his last couple fights. So he definitely can get better, but he gotta want it. And with that being said, that's pretty much all I got. This Head Busting Boxing's own Fight Doctor. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know, who do you agree with, AJ or Fury? Because according to Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder's dangerous, one-hand man or not. According to AJ, he's a bum, and they've been chopping at the bits for years to get a hold of him, even though, in his own words, he said otherwise. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. This Head Busting Boxing's own Fight Doctor. I am out.